Well, with the anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade on June 24th, Campus Reform reached out to student leaders of pro-life organizations across the country to see what the campus climate has been like since the landmark Dobbs decision was handed down. 3 out of 5 students that Campus Reform interviewed say they have had more vandalism, more backlash since Roe was overturned June 24th of last year. Why such anger? Here with me to discuss the disturbing trend is Campus Reform correspondent Emily Fowler. Emily, good to see you today.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Greatly appreciate it. So tell the good folks here what you've experienced, what you've learned, what you've found when you're asking these questions.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was there at the Supreme Court a year ago, the day Roe v. Wade was overturned, and I expected by now that, campus climates would have settled down quite a bit, but actually what we're seeing is the opposite effect. So at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, we've been covering this trend for the past year or so, and I interviewed a young student from Rider University who had actually had a pro-life display torn to bits. There was another student at William Mary who had a cup of urine thrown on him, and then there was another student at Campbell University, which is actually supposed to be a Christian school, and she was repeatedly stalked, harassed, and sent death threats. And this is all at a Christian school.
Attacked at Christian schools, isn't that just the most bizarre thing of all? These so-called Christian schools supporting abortion, supporting transgender issues, supporting a lot of things that would be, in my estimation, not in line with their charter. But maybe I'm wrong. Emily, help me out.
Yeah, I don't know. I go to a Christian school that does actually align with biblical values. So I have no idea what Campbell's deal is with this. But it just goes to show that even at some Christian universities, the left has indoctrinated higher education to such a degree that we are seeing liberal bias even on campuses that should be pro-family, pro-life. And you're seeing the exact opposite. And it's really, really disheartening, and it's really disappointing for these students, especially because if pro-life students aren't safe at Christian universities, where can they be safe?
Yeah, if they can't do it there, then one can carry it. So here's the question. Why do you think after Roe v. Wade, several of the states, including the state that I live in, Michigan, has moved aggressively toward making abortion legal up to the moment of birth? This has been the trend. Become more aggressive. Some states have broken right, many states have broken left. The divide on abortion has grown wider. So why this hostility? Because I think the trend toward abortion at any time during a pregnancy has become much more prevalent than anything else. Why this hostility?
I think it's 2 things that we're seeing, especially in higher education. One, these students have been taught from a very young age that abortion is a woman's right and that children are only going to slow them down in their careers. So they've been taught that and instilled that from their entire academic career. You see organizations like Planned Parenthood Generation Action that are specifically planted on college campuses and targeting women in their 20s because those are the majority of the women getting abortions. And then the second thing is that I think everyone does have a conscience, and deep down these students do know that abortion is murder, and they don't want to reckon with that reality. And so they're doing everything possible in their power to silence anything that's going to bite their conscience.
So how do we get there, Emily? Because here's the problem. In America, it's become quite clear. The all or nothing question is a loser for conservatives, for Republicans. Because as we saw in Michigan in November of 2022, when presented with the all or nothing question, the voters of Michigan chose everything, abortion up to the moment of birth. When Tudor Dixon, the candidate for governor in Michigan, said no exceptions ever on abortion, she lost by 12 points. She got clobbered. It's a losing political argument. So how do you get somewhere where you can limit abortion to some extent? Because it seems to me we're not going to eliminate it altogether. And if you stand and demand that that's the only acceptable answer, it's going to cost us more lives in the abortion clinic than less. What do you say?
I think you made a very good point there that we really need to emphasize taking those little steps, because though it would be wonderful if at the federal level we had a law that said that all abortion was illegal at this point, that would be wonderful. But, the question, like you said, is how do we get there? And I think, the Supreme Court's overturn of Roe v. Wade last year was a great step in that direction. Now, did it legalize all abortion? No, but it was a step in that direction. So now that we've, established on the federal level that decision is going back to the states, I think that all of us on the state level just need to be very active in supporting, pro-life and to speaking out, whether that be on the college campus or in the workplace, because the left has made us so scared. And I think that's a big, point of theirs, is they make people feel afraid. And then once they're afraid, they can't say anything and they don't do anything. And I think we need to stop being afraid. I think that's the first step.
I agree with that part. But you also have to, I think you're right about what you said. We have to take small steps back to reclaim just sanity in some of these states, like Michigan, like New Jersey, like New York, like California, that have taken a complete leave of common sense and sanity, saying, well, you just abort a child up to the moment of birth. Now, I don't know if you can find a doctor to do it, but the fact that it's even on the books, to me, is gut-wrenching. Because I agree with you. If we could ban abortion altogether, that'd be great. But we're not there politically. It's not the current environment we have, so you have to find ways to protect as many unborn children as possible. I'll give you the last word, Emily.
Yeah. I think that my message to all students out there would be to just be vocal, whether you're at a conservative school like me or whether you are at a secular school where, you might get harassed and you might, have violence taken out against you. You might have death threats. You might get urine thrown at you. But regardless, anytime we let that get in our way, we are letting the left win. So I would just encourage all students out there to be vocal, even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, speak up and be heard. That's what the First Amendment's all about. Emily, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
There you have it, Emily Fowler. Well-spoken young woman. She gets to go to a Christian school that's still a Christian school, apparently. A lot of them migrating away from what they were established on, what their charters say, and who they are supposed to be as institutions. So there you go. Coming up after the break, Mike Pence has been in the Republican presidential nomination race for over a month now. And even though Pence has a wealth of experience working in government, his polling is almost, non-existent. We'll cover that story and much more straight ahead on America's Voice Live.